The alarm had not even finished its first cycle when the beast closed its jaws around Owen's arm, and every single one of us froze in place, because we all knew what a bite from that creature meant. I was standing at the far end of the containment bay when it happened, close enough to see everything, and far enough that I could do nothing about it. The creature we had pulled from that dead moon 3 jumps ago was not supposed to be loose. It was not supposed to be anywhere near a crew member, but the locking clamp on its enclosure had failed during a routine feeding check, and Owen had been the one closest to the door when it happened. I have served on this ship for 11 years. In that time, I had heard stories about what that species could do. Its bite pressure was strong enough to crack armor plating. Every record we had showed the same result. Whatever it caught did not walk away. So when the heavy hatch sealed shut behind Owen, trapping him inside with that thing, I did not think about rescue plans. I thought about how I was going to explain this to his family. Mara, our ship's doctor, was pressed against the thick viewing glass so hard her breath fogged it white. 2 security officers were already shouting into their comms, trying to force an emergency override before it was too late. I stood beside them, watching a man I had shared meals with just that morning standing utterly still while a predator held his arm in its mouth. Owen was not screaming. That was the first thing that struck me as strange. Every report I had ever read about this species said its victims screamed, thrashed, begged. Owen did none of that. He stood with his jaw tight and his eyes narrowed, and he said something low that the comms did not catch clearly. It did not sound like pain. It sounded closer to annoyance, the way someone might react to spilling a drink on their sleeve. "Override in 40 seconds, one of the security officers said, his voice tight. "Mara, get the medical kit ready. He is going to need it." I remember gripping the edge of the console so hard my knuckles ached. 40 seconds felt like an hour. I watched the creature's muscles ripple along its back as it tightened its hold, and I waited for the moment Owen's legs would give out beneath him. That moment never came. Instead, the creature's whole body went rigid, as if every part of it had received a different order at the exact same instant. Its legs locked, its spine arched unnaturally. For one heartbeat, it looked as though it might tear Owen's arm from his body out of pure reflex. Then it simply stopped. Not slowed down, not weakened. Stopped, the way a machine stops the moment its power is cut. Its jaw did not release so much as forget how to stay closed, and Owen pulled his arm free from between teeth that had gone completely slack. He stumbled back 2 steps, cradling his arm against his chest. Blood ran freely down his sleeve, but even from where I stood, it did not look nearly as severe as it should have been for a bite of that strength. The creature dropped to the deck and did not move again. The hatch finally released, and Mara was through it before the door had even finished opening. I followed close behind her, my mind still struggling to catch up with what my eyes had just witnessed. "He's alive," Mara said, kneeling beside Owen and running her scanner over his arm with hands that were not quite steady. "Pulse is strong, wound is deep, but nowhere near as bad as it should be." One of the security officers knelt by the creature instead, running his own scanner across its still body. His face went pale as he stared at the readout. "Its heart tissue is completely gone," he said. "Not damaged. Gone. Like it aged decades in the space of a few seconds." "That is not possible," Mara said, though she did not look up from Owen's arm as she said it. "I have the readings right here," the officer replied. Possible stopped being the point about a minute ago. Owen, for his part, sat calmly on a supply crate while Mara wrapped his arm, looking at the lifeless creature with an expression that was closer to mild curiosity than fear. It was the same look someone might give a car that had broken down for no obvious reason. "Huh," he said quietly. "Guess that explains why we were told not to donate blood the week before deployment." None of us understood what he meant. I certainly did not. Once his arm was fully bandaged and the science team had descended on the creature with their instruments, I found him sitting alone near the observation deck, and I asked him to explain. He shifted the shoulder that was not injured and gave a small, tired shrug. "Human blood carries all kinds of things," he said. "Compounds our bodies produce without us even thinking about it. Most of the time they do nothing to us. But if something bites into us that has never encountered human biology before, there is no telling how its body will react. Some of it can be dangerous to systems that are not built to handle it. Nobody knew what would happen if a creature like that one tried to feed on one of us. I guess now we know." "You could have died," I said. "You had no way of knowing what would happen." "No," he agreed simply. "I didn't. But it already had my arm. Standing there panicking about it was not going to change what happened next, so I didn't." It was in that quiet moment that I finally understood something the older crew members had always tried to explain to me, something I had never fully grasped until now. It was not that humans were dangerous in the way we usually think about danger. It was something else entirely. They seemed to walk straight into the worst moments of their lives, already prepared to accept whatever came next, and somehow, again and again, the very thing trying to end them turned out to be the thing that could not survive the attempt. The creature had bitten a human. In any other case, that would have been the final moment of an ordinary hunt, nothing more than an animal doing exactly what its instincts demanded of it. Instead, it had reached out and taken hold of something built by thousands of years of survival, of struggle, of a species that adapted to nearly everything thrown at it. And in the space of a few short seconds, it had discovered exactly what that meant. Later that evening, once the bay had been cleared, and the creature's remains had been removed for study, I found Mara in the medical wing, still going over her notes from the incident. She looked up when I entered, shaking her head slowly. "I have treated a lot of injuries on this ship," she said. "I have never seen anything like this. That bite should have taken his arm completely. Instead, he is going to walk away with nothing more than a scar and a story to tell." "Do you think it was luck?" I asked her. She thought about it for a long moment before answering. "I think humans carry more surprises in their biology than we give them credit for. I think that creature made the mistake of assuming its usual method would work the same way it always had. It did not expect the one thing that could stop it to be sitting inside the very thing it was trying to consume." I thought about that answer for the rest of the night, replaying the entire scene over and over in my mind. The way Owen had stood there without panic. The way he had accepted the situation instead of fighting against the fear of it. The way something inside him, something none of us could see or predict, had turned the moment completely around. The next morning, Owen was back in the mess hall as though nothing unusual had happened at all. His arm was wrapped and resting in a sling, but he ate his meal calmly, chatting with the crew members around him about nothing more serious than the ship's upcoming schedule. I sat across from him, still turning the entire event over in my mind. "Are you not shaken by what happened?" I asked him. "You were seconds away from losing your arm, perhaps your life." He considered the question seriously before answering, not brushing it off the way I expected him to. "I won't pretend it wasn't scary," he admitted, "but there wasn't much use panicking in the middle of it. Panicking would not have loosened its jaw any faster. All I could do was stay as calm as possible and wait to see what happened next. Sometimes that is the only choice you have." It struck me then how simple his explanation was, and yet how much weight it carried. He had not expected to survive through some special skill or hidden strength. He had simply refused to give in to fear, and whatever it was inside him that the creature could not handle had done the rest. Word of the incident spread quickly through the rest of the crew, and within a day, it had become something of a quiet legend aboard the ship. The creature that had never failed to bring down its prey had met the one creature it should never have tried to challenge. I do not think I will ever fully understand humans, not in the way I understand the rest of my crew, not in the way their instincts and traditions and strange sense of humor all fit together. But I have learned something important from watching Owen sit there so calmly with his arm freshly bandaged. I have learned never to assume I know what will happen the moment something decides to test one of them.